to the studio. I'm going to be painting this beautiful scene here, which is just down by the river below our house one evening. I have two references from the same evening. You can see how much it changed. I'm going to paint them both, but today I'm just going to be doing this one. You can see that the horizon is pretty much smack in the middle, so I need to think about how I'm going to change that. Am I going to make it lower so it's all about the sky? I'll put that in nice and dark, and then it will come around like that for a bit of the foreshore. That's all quite dark. There'll be a dark cloud coming through there and some dark clouds going up, so with the dark coming through there. So that's one way I could do it. I could make it more about the water. I don't think that's what I'll be doing, but let's try it anyway, because you should always play around a little bit at the beginning to see if something is more effective than you initially think it's going to be. So rocks will come out there, come around in that. It allows me to get a bit more of a curve on that one. It's fairly flat here if I want to keep the rocks in, which I kind of do because it's a nice darker contrast. So that will be all fairly dark. My horizon, I'll still have that cloud coming through there, fairly dark. And some more dark coming through there, and some darker ones going back there. This would be slightly bigger than I've made it, actually. So here it will be more about the water, and here it will be more about the sky, and the sky is the one I'm going for, even though I like that curve much better. I'll think about, could I actually bring that up a little bit there and curve it around a little bit more like that, which I might do. Try and get a little bit more of the curve going there. But that's the one I'm going for. So I'll keep that reference there to remind me, and I'll keep the colour reference there, and I'll just move this box in. It's got quite a lot of blues and some yellows and peachy colours, which I'll be using in the sky. I'm going to start by blocking in those colours, and I'll look for starting out with some yellows, but not too yellow. Let's first put in that horizon line so I don't get caught out by it. I'll go in with a purple there. It's got to be quite low, so just putting that in. Giving myself those hills that go along there. Remembering that in all this darkness, there'll be a bit more colour than we can actually see. So now I've got that in, I might block in those, the darks here, and I am going to make it come up a little bit so that I can get that sort of shape coming round like that. The shape coming around, it's still not quite right. I might make it come up a little bit more like that. So I've got the shape coming down like so. That'll be the darks there. I've got the darks in the hills. This is Vanilla Carte paper, and I'm using just a mixed box, so I can't tell you every single one in here. They're mixed ones. I'm going to take this pale colour now and block in where I want the light areas to be, which will be there. There's some more light coming down through here, more light coming along like that. That's to keep me in mind where the lights are going. I'll keep that one out. Put in a peachy kind of colour down below and around that, running all the way out through here. A little bit of it up here. Got an even lighter version, which I'll put in there. That's going to be my lightest part of the sky. I will be running some of this down through the water, so I'm going to put a bit of it in now. Get that going. I'll leave those out. That kind of runs right up through here in a sweeping zag up through there. So I'll put it in now. Little bits of it going through the sky here. I'll put a little bit of it in, but not too much. This is the main area here. Keeping that peachy bit, top of the clouds through here, and little bits of peach coming all the way through there. They're on top of the clouds. I'm going to put in some of the blue now. You'd be tempted to think that's quite dark, but I find this a simple thing to do. Just hold that up against it to see whether you think it's, too light, too dark, too warm, too cool. And I can see that those ones are approaching it. Down here, I'm going to want something a bit darker. Probably going somewhere like that. And I'll be adding some mauvey colours in there as well underneath here, which will probably be that one. I'll put some of those in now. Just getting some of the night blue sky in there, the evening sky, the blues of that. Some of that blue will end up down here in the clouds as well, with a lighter blue coming in on top. And some mauve as well there. It's a quite dark blue down there. I'm going to go quite dark, which I might then need to moderate off a bit, but quite dark underneath there. Quite dark in there. This will be too dark up here. And then a bit of blue coming in there. I'm going to moderate that down a bit with a more sort of grey, a bit of a greyed off dark blue there. Some pastels just slide on easier than others. This one's a little bit not wanting to release itself so well. I'll put some of that nice deep blue down here as well in the water. Looking at some of the other blues that are going in. A little bit of the mauve as well over there. Running that through the water there. I'm trying to use a colour that I've used up there elsewhere as well. So they're my blues and my mauve. That mauve is going to come across in these low clouds as well. Underneath these ones. And I'll want some of that darker blue in there. Maybe we'll try that. That's not dark enough. And I think this one's going to be too dark. What I might do is just start with that and then moderate it off a bit. Sometimes that's the easiest way to go if you haven't got exactly what you want in your kit. And I try not to pull out all my colours because often you don't have all those colours. So it's a matter of putting one in and then trying another one over the top of it. That's still too dark. Now, this might be the one I'm after. I think that's better. Just knocking back that blue a bit there. Bringing it up into the peachy areas there. I'm starting to get that sense of depth in the clouds that I'm after. And then I'm going to bring some of that down into here as well. Down into the water. I've been working on just getting some of those main values and colours in where I would like them here. So I've got the hills, I've got that light patch of sky, some of the darker clouds, the dark pebbly shore around here, and the reflections of the water. Now I'm just going to be working in that sky. So I've got some lighter blues. I'm going to actually pull in some even lighter blues there and just lay them in a very loose way there. So there'll be blues, a little bit of blue coming down through there, not too much. And I also want to have a little bit of that blue coming down through there. Maybe slightly in there underneath that cloud. And bring a little bit of over the top of that cloud there. A little bit of it into that cloud. I would like to use some of these mauvey colours too, so I'm going to pop those in the sky up there. A little bit through there. The mauvey colours work quite well with these yellows here. I've got that big cloud there, and then I've got a little bit of mauve running through there, and more of the light coming in up through there. I want to put a bit of the peachy colour in too, because too much of the yellow will, and then with that blue will start to make green. So just popping that in over the top of that purple as well. The top of the clouds there, just giving them that nice soft glow. And I've got it in the water. I'm pulling it right down through the water now. Trying to soften off the water a little bit. Putting in some of the mauvey colours as well. And not forgetting that it's quite dark there, so let's keep the darks running through there. And don't forget about those, because we need that contrast between the lights and the darks. I'm going to go back into here and pull some of those darks out there as well. Popping in a little bit of the blues again in these cloud forms here. And looking for even lighter mauvey colour. So something quite a bit lighter. That's a quite light sort of mauvey colour. I just want to put a little bit of that around the edges here of some of these clouds. Maybe up the top of that one as well. And soften off some of these little areas here with little bits of cloud coming in, going out, in amongst the very yellows. And I need to lay more of that yellow down there. So I'm going in there, really letting the yellow shine through in the background. I want to take it quite peachy there as well. So I'm putting in some of that bright yellow, but I also want to mix in some of the peaches. So I'm just doing that lightly. You can see I'm just scumbling that over the area there to suggest that that colour's infiltrating and overlapping some of the more yellow, brighter yellow colours. So the further we get out from where that sun is setting, the less light, very vibrant light it is. So that will be concentrated down in this area more. But a nice pattern going through there. I might add a little bit of that going up through here as well. I really don't want any of that brown under painting going through there. So I'm going to change that with, overlap it a little bit more with these peachy colours and allow some of that mauve to come through here. If I get it too angular with that sharp edge that I had, you can see how sharp it is. I don't want that, so I'm just using the other side of it that's a little bit rounder to knock that back a little bit. This seems a little bit too stark here. I'll try a blue that's not quite as dark, so that there's only a dark bit right at the edge. Working it back into there again. So quite dark at the base, but not as dark as it was. That was just a wee bit too dark. And I'll bring a little bit of that into here. I'd like to bring a little bit of that yellow in, just a touch of it, suggesting through there. I'm getting quite happy with the sky. I just need to put a bit more in there to really cover up some of that brown. I'll bring a little bit of that blue down and amongst this as well. It's a nice variety of colours going on in there, suggesting some loose clouds going over there. I need to bring some of this a little bit more up into this area. So I'm just bringing some of that in through here, a little bit more there. Over through here, I put that mauvey kind of cloud coming out, and then I need to top it with a bit more of this peach colour. I don't have to stay exactly to this photo or this. Once I've got it in there, it's a guide for me. What I'm going to do is suggest some little wispy bits. Coming through there. And help that dark cloud stand out a little bit more by putting the peach colour around it. Through here, I'm going to just put a little bit of the peach around behind this very dark cloud so that we've got that sense of light behind the darkness. And I need to then fluff that cloud out a little bit. So I'm taking some of the darks and just letting them soften off and fluff out at the edges a little bit. I'm not sure if that's a technical term, but I'm softening off the edges slightly. And sharpening up the bottom a little bit where it's quite dark. I'll probably bring us lighter, a little hint of the peachy colour through there as well. Maybe going in with a little bit of a deeper mauve there for the base of that cloud. The sky's fairly effective there. A couple of little traces maybe of little dark bits of cloud coming out and wisp those off slightly. So there's a little bit of a wispiness going over there. I could add some little bits of darker bases to some of these cloud-like forms here too. And maybe blot them off slightly with my finger. Bring that peachy colour back here. And a little bit of the mauve coming in there as well. That will be just some of the clouds coming through there too. Now the hills down here, I just want to define them a little bit more. So I'm going in with something harder and darker. Let's get those really well defined. Maybe that can be slightly lightened off against there, and then the foreground ones can be quite dark. Popping a few lines across there. So I've got that working quite nicely. I'm going to pull a few wispy bits up off the top of these clouds so that they're coming into that area. And this can have a little bit of mauve in the bottom of it as well. I'm trying to keep that peachy tone around the edges of the clouds. I don't want it too much of the yellow, or it will just make green for me, so peaching those up a little bit. This needs to have a little bit more cover, so now I'm just going to start pulling down a little bit more vigorously to get a little bit more. As I go out, it might get a little bit more of the mauve blended in with it. I've got that dark cloud reflection there. I'm just pulling a few bits of the darker colours going across there, but also the mauves, so mauves and blues coming through there. As we come back into this quite dark area here, I'll add some of the other blues into it. And where the reflections come back there, they'll tend to be, the ripples will tend to be a little bit lighter there. I can do a little bit of blending there. What I'm going to do is just try another pinky colour so that I'm getting a little bit of variety there. Taking through a darker blue through there. You can see how they're going through. That would be these sort of I need to do something with this, so I'm going to go in and build up some shapes for the rocks coming out into the water. They come down in some little shapes. Dabbing those in, not going too overboard with them. I would like to add a suggestion up here of light on them, so I could use some of this just a little bit of light falling on those rock edges, and that can be in that warm colour, but also in this cooler colour to add a little bit of extra form there. That's the foreground there. I could have some bigger, flatter, a bigger sort of flatter rock coming in there, which will get a little bit of that reflected light on it, but then go back into the darks as well. I might add a bit of a dark suggestion of some green coming down towards the river. I don't want that. So now I'm just looking for small pieces, and I'm going to sharpen up that edge along the far bank. I just putting that in, and a few lines like that. I'll need to get that quite crisp, so I'm going back into it and adding some of those foreground colours I put in to that hill there as well to tie in that. I could add a few tiny touches of that as well. Maybe even some suggestion that there's some little houses over the river by putting some lights in across the river, and they would actually reflect quite well down into the water like so. That's suggesting a bit of light back through there. All I'm doing now is adding that extra coverage of light through there. I really feel that some of that needs to come down in here, though we're not seeing it in the reference. I'd like a little bit of it to come down there. And I'll take a few of those small rocks out this way a little bit, so as they come down to the water, I'd just like those to sort of hang around those rocks a little bit. Keeping a few of the little ripples going there. Fairly happy with that. I'm putting a little bit of colour on a couple of these little rocks. Maybe knock them back a bit. Now that I've put it on, I think maybe it's a bit much. I'd like to make that cloud stand out a bit. So to really be on top of those paler clouds behind it. So I'm making that quite a little bit darker now. But I will also go over it slightly with that one. I don't want it quite that dark. And then I need to lighten the sky behind it. So I'll do that by going in with this and lightening off that sky behind it a little bit with some of this peaches and the yellows. And then just jumble this mauve over the top of it so that it is lighter than the cloud, but it's kind of bringing it all together. That maybe does need to be a little bit softened on the top there in a few places. So and I do have this very light one. I could add a few. I'm fairly happy with that as a composition, really. I feel maybe there could be some darker bits through there, so maybe I'll go in and just darken up some of those little areas there with these scumbling across clouds. I think that's better. And the peachiness, I'm not sure if the peachiness is enough. As it comes out here, we'll get a little bit of that. Not quite so peachy. Don't forget to clean off your pastels now and then. It does make a big difference. You can see how dirty my hand is. I need to now just make that a little bit more organic as it shoots out over there. That up a little bit, wisp it out slightly. And along here, I'm going to just touch up the tops of those. Touch up the tops down here. And I need sort of lighter pinks there and sort of mauvey pinks as they go out, so they're not quite so. The tops of that can be a pinky, not a peachy colour there as well. And we'll roll that right into the join up there. This is that mountain back there, and it's really a bit wrong, isn't it? It's too to that pale blue. So I'm going to sharpen up some edges there of that mountain and roll it back through there. That's better. And This is all now simply finessing these cloud shapes so that they look a bit more natural. I hope you enjoyed this short demo. When I finished a painting, I like to have a good look at it and think about how I executed the idea that I had. So for this one, I was going for the dramatic drama. I was going for the drama of the darks against this beautiful light sky. So I stayed fairly true to my pattern that I drew in here, the value pattern. And it's fairly true to the photo reference, but the changes I made were to leave out this. I decided I didn't want anything over there distracted from the sky, even though it does give it a little bit more depth. And I also made the rocks have more detail in them because the photos make the shadows so dark that you don't see any of the lovely colour in it. So I added a little bit of colour there. I also popped in a few of the houses that I see across the river because at that time of night the lights are shining in the river, and I felt that they made a nice little balance across the hills back there. I tried to keep it fresh, not to over apply the pastel, and to just put some marks on and leave them, which I think I've managed quite well here. Maybe I've overworked the sky a little. You can tell me that. So if you'd like to see more of these demos, just hit the subscribe button and then you'll get a notification when I put out a new video. I'm going to try and do some regular videos again now that I'm a little bit better set up and I have a bit more free time. We'll see how that goes. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.